Hey guys, what's up? So this is my best attempt at a Jingliu zero cycle as free to play as possible. So I took off Jingliu's lightcone, I put on Herta's lightcone, and I've essentially used Yukong in a way where I can't take advantage of her E6. And I guess Pela's E4 is probably the only one that really makes a difference because even Tingyun's E6, the extra 10 energy that you get, won't be enough to make a difference in this run. Maybe perhaps you could say that the extra 20% attack bonus that the benediction gives with E4 could be an increase, but Jingliu gives so much attack percentage that I'm actually convinced that this run is essentially free to play. Maybe you could argue relics, but anyway, let's get into it and then we'll see how it goes. So, Jingliu starts off with her talent. We're going to use Tingyun's talent twice and then use Pela's talent also. Now, we don't want to actually do the maximum amount of damage in this first wave because just like most zero cycles, you want to kill the boss on the second action of all your units so you can build up enough energy that when the second wave eventually comes, you have all your ults prepared and ready to just blast the enemy to kill them in that one cycle. Just for that one reason, in case we did crit there, even though we only have about 35% crit rate, we don't want it to crit against the main guy because then we might kill it too early. And see, we didn't even crit against the right guy, but it doesn't make a difference. So he's at a perfect amount of health right now that our second Jingliu hit will do the job. Now, Tingyun is going to use an extra skill because unless she gets hit, which she's not going to have enough energy to use her ult. So we're just going to use one extra skill. And as you can see right now, Tingyun's going to skill again. So we use 3 Tingyun skills in like 4 turns, but that's necessary because we want both Tingyun ults active, and that's how you can make this zero cycle work in this particular setup with the Herta Shop Lightcone on Jingliu. Right? So once Jingliu's turn is up, we then use all of our ults, Pela's ult, Yukong's ult, and Jingliu's ult. Tingyun's ult was already done last turn, so we're already going to have that extra 50% damage bonus for the rest of the fight because Jingliu's only going to have 2 more turns. Now, this ult is going to be targeted on the one with the ice res reduction because that is going to be a nice little damage bonus, but as you can see, it's already dead. So now that I think about it, the ice res damage bonus is actually completely useless because it died already, so that would have just died with the adjacent damage done from our final Jingliu hit. So as you can see right now with Bronya's Lightcone, we're going to get an extra 30% damage bonus, and on top of that massive buff, we now have a good amount of damage, attack, defense reduction, and it's dead. Beautiful. So let's get into the builds and let's see how it was set up. Now, for Jingliu, she is on the fall of an AEON, and that means that her crit ratio is 36 over 226. Now, this is actually a cool thing, right? Normally, you would not want to use Yukong with Jingliu. However, if you, for some reason, perhaps maybe want to get as much spiky crit damage as possible, you can build Jingliu with 50 plus 28, that's 78. You can build Jingliu with 22 crit rate. And then when you use Yukong's ult, you and her 50% from the transmigration state, you're going to be at 100 crit rate. So that is actually one interesting thing that you can take advantage of with Yukong to essentially just max out Jingliu's damage for those ult turns. But because Yukong's ult you can't get every single turn, you don't really want to go minimum crit rate. So 36 is plus 50 will be 86, so that's pretty good. Now, for the rest of her build, she is on the Genius set because that first side is Quantum Weak. Now, I don't care that it's Quantum Weak because this is the only set that I have for Jingliu, but at the end of the day, that's it. And 0 Eidolons, perfect. Okay, so for Yukong, I think Bronya's Lightcone is extremely important, right? Because that extra damage bonus is what you're missing when you don't use Bronya. Like that's the reason why Bronya is so good with Jingliu, because Jingliu gains so much attack that you want a good amount of damage bonus to balance it out. And for that reason, having Bronya's Lightcone, giving that extra 30% is really good because you pair that with Tingyun's ult, that 50%, so you're going to get about 80% damage bonus. Maybe if you can have a Penacony on Pela, for example, which maybe I do, maybe I don't, who knows. That'll be 90% damage bonus, and that is really solid. to make up for that lack of damage bonus if you don't have Jingliu's Lightcone, right? Because that will be 14 times 3, right? Damage per attack. And so for Pela, of course, resolution, because I don't prefer tutorial on her, and she is on the passerby and Penacony. Pela is essentially like a super, super, super good support in this case, right? Because she gets that ice res down, right? She's able to use Penacony with Jingliu, although the energy regen doesn't really matter with Pela because she is so skill point positive, and like she gets her ult so fast with just one skill and one basic attack, which I guess wouldn't be skill point positive in that case. But at the end of the day, you don't really benefit from that extra energy, but that damage bonus is very, very good. Although you could just run Effect Keel. It's pretty much the same thing, I'll be honest. Effect Keel, personally, if the character doesn't actually benefit from the 5 energy percent, for example, Yukong benefits from that 5 energy from Penacony, because if you get 2 ults up, one of them being Ting Yun, so you can give energy to a 3rd unit, so that way you have 3 ults up in the first turn, then you can make it so Yukong's ult can be used in your first DPS's turn. That is a very, very important thing, and if you don't have an S2 Bronya Lightcone for that more than 10% energy regen, you will want that extra 5% energy regen to make sure that you can get her ult up on that first turn, so that way when you go skill, basic skill, right, then you're going to actually have her ult up again after 3 turns. So the 3-turn ult is very important for those characters. However, Pela is not necessary for that reason, although having Passerby for that extra skill point, having that extra damage on Jingliu, I think works pretty damn well. Now, I ranted a little too much right there for Pela, but at the end of the day, I think Jingliu is amazing with or without her Lightcone. She can zero cycle regardless. Now, I don't have a healer in this setup, because if you have a healer, you really need your characters to deal so much more damage. Like, if you don't have a signature Lightcone or just some cracked relics, zero cycling with a healer is like tough as shit, in my opinion. Like, even my Don Hung can barely do it, and he's E2, so it's kind of fucked. But anyways, this is my version of as free to play as a Jingliu zero cycle as I can get. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. If you have any suggestions, maybe some new characters we can zero cycle in the future, let me know. I appreciate it. Adios.